Alright. Hi there, Christine.
Hello.
How are you doing today?
I'm doing well.
Good. So, first I just want to start off with kind of touching base and seeing how your week was this past week.
It was good. It was really busy. My basketball team, right? Yes, basketball team. We had an out-of-town tournament this weekend, so this is the first time I've ever got to go on an out-of-town tournament, and my foster dad took me, and it was just him and I staying in the hotel, but then the rest of the team was all there, so it was so much fun.
Good. How'd you do?
We won 2 games and we lost 2 games, so it was
alright.
It was good. But everybody got a participation bag with some treats and swag, I guess.
Swag.
So yeah, awesome. It was a lot of fun. There was 4 other high schools there, so
big enough.
Yeah,
tournament.
Good.
Nice.
Yeah.
Good. So to start off our session, I just wanted to go through with you the ORS, which we've done in previous sessions, and this is just kind of a good way for me to touch base and see how, because sometimes it's hard when we're reflecting on our week to really reflect on everything, so this kind of guides us to kind of hit on all the different areas. So if I could have you to fill this out.
Sure.
Yeah. 30th? Yeah, 30th. Yep, so this one then. Great. So I also wanted to take this opportunity, Christine, to show you kind of where you started and where you are now.
Okay.
So on your ORS score, the first time you scored a 32.2. Second time you scored a 32.9. Make some news up. Then you scored, because I didn't count them, a 33.8. And now for this one, it's looking like things have even gotten a little bit better. So if I were to calculate this, I'd say this was probably more around like a 39. No, not a 39. Maybe a 38.
Wow.
So way above cutoff, which is really, really good. So this is a really good tool to help me see how things are going, and if things were to go like this, I'd be concerned, and I would see a need for us to continue working together. But because things are going like this gradually, I'm seeing that things are going well, and that this will likely be our last session. So so let's go through the 4 different areas. So individually, your kind of personal well-being. So I look at this as kind of your day-to-day feeling. So if you're feeling day-to-day really sad and mad about things or whatever it may be, probably a lot lower. And then usually when I see higher scores, that tells me that things are good and you're feeling happy and things like that. So tell me a little bit about kind of personal well-being and how you're feeling on a day-to-day basis over this past week.
Well, just the tournament was a lot of fun, so I feel like that just kind of it was to top off a good week. I did really well at school, and I think the last couple weeks, it's been a long time since I haven't gotten in an argument with the teachers. So the last 2 weeks I didn't argue with any of my teachers, and my homework was in on time, and I've never had that before. So I just feel like with the help of the tutor, something I didn't want for so long, but she turned out to be really nice, and it's just everything is just going. I've never had everything going well. It's still really hard, and I don't enjoy it all the time, but it just feels like things are going on. I keep wondering what's going to happen to kind of stop it, but it just feels good right now. So.
What makes you think that there should be something to make it not go so well?
Well, just usually there's always been something, so it's just kind of it's just different for me not to have something that's really stressing me out. There's things that are hard, or if I, sometimes I'll feel sad for a little while, but it's not all the time now. So I just keep waiting for it to go back to how it was for so long, because this doesn't seem normal. I don't know.
And I think that the piece around still having some days or some instances where things aren't great is quite normal, especially for a teenage girl, right? Things, and not every day is going to be perfect, and I think that you recognize that. But I recommend that you embrace this time in your life and enjoy the fact that there aren't a whole lot of stresses going on, because you've done a lot of work to kind of make that environment for yourself, right? So have you seen, because I know at first you were really hesitant around getting some extra help with math and things like that, but are you seeing the connection between doing a little bit more work and in turn kind of getting what you want, i.e. basketball?
Yeah. It's been good, and like I said, I didn't think it would be, it's not fun doing math tutoring, but it's not horrible like I thought it was going to be. So I don't mind doing that, because then I get to do things like going on the basketball trip, where I think if I was still failing, they would have said no for sure. But so I can see that staying in every now and again, but then I can do my homework while I'm there. So I'd rather stay in at during lunch than doing it after school, or when I could be hanging out sometimes with my friends. But yeah, it's been
good.
Yes.
And it sounds like a piece to it too that's made it a little bit less painful is having Ruby, your tutor, who it sounds like you've made a really nice connection with, and is someone that you see as really nice and also helpful with your math. Because that's something too that we've identified throughout our sessions, that relationships and having a connection with someone is really important for you. So I suspect that that's kind of made doing your extra math work a little bit easier, even though you might not really enjoy the work.
Yeah.
Would you agree?
I agree.
Great.
Yeah.
Good. And then we're building a kitchen table downstairs. So the next section is around your interpersonal way of life. So family, close relationships, that kind of thing. So how are things going at home and with your family and maybe siblings, that kind of thing?
Well, they've been going really well. Like I said, my foster dad went on the trip with me, and so it was kind of nice. I've never known my real dad, so it was kind of nice to just spend time with a dad that I have right now. So it was a lot of fun. And he took me out to eat, and so he just made me feel like that was a weekend for me, and yeah, it was good. So I put that one really high. It was a lot of fun.
That must have made you feel really special. And it sounds like him kind of taking that time where it's just you made it even all that more better, right? Like, because that weekend it sounded like it was all about Christine, which is okay, right? Which is good, and it sounds like there hasn't been a whole lot of that for you throughout your life. So the fact that someone took you to this tournament and spent time with you, and what I'm hearing you say is that meant a whole lot to you, and that has resulted in a higher score and you kind of feeling more connected to your family. So that's really great. Really great.
And then I did last week get to talk on the phone with my real mom too, which I haven't too, which normally I think would make me kind of upset, or I mean it still does, because I'm sad and I miss her and stuff, but it was just, at least this time I know that right now everything's going well. So as much as I miss her, it was nice to talk to her and just hear from her, but at the same time I was more thinking about her than me wanting to, it was nice to hear from her. So I didn't put it low, even though I talked to her, and that normally makes me feel upset, but I viewed it as more of a positive thing this time, to get to talk to her, even though it doesn't mean I get to go be with her right now, but it was nice.
Yeah. So I'm hearing you say that because there's been so many positive things going on in your life that what would typically maybe be a not so positive thing, you kind of made it into that because things are going so well in all the different areas of your life that you're able to take maybe a potentially upsetting experience and turn it into a more positive one.
Yes, that was said much better than I did.
Well, that's really good. Do you hear from your mom quite often, or
not a lot? But I think that now my foster parents right now, they are encouraging of it, like they know that I would like to talk to her, so they work at trying to set that up. So I never really had a family that encouraged it that much. So
well, that's good. And so maybe when you speak with her, because they're okay with it and are encouraging it, maybe that contributes to it being a more positive experience for you.
Yeah.
So that's great. I'm really happy to hear that. And then the next one is socially, so work doesn't apply for you, but kind of school and friendships. How are things going there?
There was no fighting with my friends this week, so it was good. And just having the friends in the basketball team on the weekend tournament, it was so much fun.
That's great.
To swim in a pool, I had a water slide.
Wow.
We had a team pizza party right beside the restaurant, beside the pool.
Nice.
So it was a good time.
It sounds like it was a good time. Now, I know that last time, or the time before, we kind of spoke about your friend Desiree being upset because of forming new friendships on the basketball team, and it sounds like there's a bit of change to that friendship. I think last time we touched base, things were like you had spoken to her and things were better. Are things continuing to go on the way they were, where I think it was Desiree and Beth and yourself were all hanging out all together, and she was feeling a lot better about things, and has that continued, or has there been any arguments within your friendships?
Well, we've been continuing to hang out, and I think now they're better friends, so it's a little bit easier, and I'm just making sure that that I make sure to call Desiree just as much as I always have, and that sort of thing, and she hasn't gotten upset or anything, so I think it's been good.
And how has that made you feel with having a bit more stability with friendships and not as much arguments or fighting, and just having a bit more, I don't know if it would be more happiness with your friendship, or what that's been feeling like for you, but tell me a little bit about how that's made you feel.
Well, I haven't felt as stressed about it, because when she was upset, I was really stressing out that I didn't know what to do or not do, or but now I just kind of feel like I can just hang out, and I'm not having to worry about what I'm doing as much. Like, I don't think I'll offend her just because now they're friends and now they know each other, so I don't feel stressed about it anymore.
So sometimes too, Kirsty, when we're stressed about things and we're in relationships or friendships, sometimes that stress can distract us from being kind of present in those friendships. So would you agree with saying that maybe you're a bit more engaged and present with your friends now because there's less stress?
Yeah, I think so.
That's good.
Yeah. That's really way of putting it.
That's really great.
So I don't know if I'm not that.
Well, and then friendships are a little bit more meaningful and they're enhanced and they're just better when things go well. Sorry. It's like I live with children.
I know they're watching for the dog.
Yeah, they probably will. He's being taken care of. And then just kind of general overall, you also scored quite high with that too. So typically that kind of encompasses everything, all the other sections in this report. But is there anything else that you wanted to touch on around, kind of your week and how things have been going, that kind of thing?
Well, not with the week so much, because it kind of flew by. I think I was just always looking forward to the weekend and the trip away and stuff.
Nice.
Yeah.
Good. And it sounds like you had an awesome time away at your tournament.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun.
Will you guys have any more tournaments like that, or was that the only one for the year?
The next one is in Calgary, so we don't have to go away, but there will be another tournament weekend, so
Great.
that'll be nice because then more friends from the school can come watch and that sort of thing.
Great. And it kind of sounds like your participation on the basketball team and engaging in these tournaments and things like that's all kind of helping with your connection to others and making more friendships and just having more fun, which is what you should be doing. So that's great. So last time we also spoke a little bit about, I think we had 2 things for your homework, and the first thing was changing your self-talk. So I think that this was around kind of changing your self-talk from being maybe you had more comments around putting yourself down and you're a bit more negative to shifting to more kind of positive thoughts. Can you tell me a little bit about how that's been going for you?
Sure. I guess especially with seeing with the help and all that kind of thing, and Ruby told me it's normal for people not to do well in math. So now I realize, maybe before I would think I was stupid and that sort of thing, and now I realize that it's just kind of a normal thing, and a lot of people need help with it. And I'm realizing I can do it, so I still have those times where I start telling myself, oh, I can't believe you didn't get this, or then I remind myself that it's okay and not everybody is a math genius.
That's very true.
But I guess,
one of them.
Yeah. I guess the biggest thing though has been just I keep telling myself that I'm just worried, when is it gonna stop being as good? Like I guess I'm just worried, and I keep on thinking to myself that now that everything's good, are they gonna take me out of this house? I guess that's the biggest thing that I've been talking about, just because I feel like it's bound to happen now that everything's going so well. So maybe just to remind myself that it's okay for things to be fun, and it's okay.
It sounds like you're having it's too good to be true experience, and I think that that's normal too, Christine, when you feel that in the past when things have gone well, they often don't go well for very long, and then things don't go so well, so then you would assume from patterns that will happen again. But it sounds like you're really putting efforts into telling yourself that that's not always necessarily the case, and that things can go well, and they can go well for a period of time, and that because things are going well doesn't mean it has to be taken away from you or things have to go drastically wrong. So that's really good that you're telling yourself that, but it takes practice too, right? I think that when it comes to self-talk and trying to shift from maybe some negative thoughts to positive thoughts, it takes a lot of practice, which it sounds like you're kind of experiencing.
Yeah. I keep trying more. I write things down like we had talked about, so hopefully it'll just keep going well, and then I will.
I'm really happy that things have been going well, and I suspect with lots of the choices that you made and the way things are going that there's no reason why they wouldn't. I think that oftentimes there are always going to be bumps in the road, but it sounds like you're getting a lot of tools kind of in your toolkit, they like to call it, to help you cope with potential maybe bumps in the road down the road, right? And it takes time to change your self-talk and to shift that from one thing to another. And practice makes perfect, as you know, through basketball. So self-talk is very much similar, right? You got to keep at it for it to improve. And another thing that we had spoken about last week was, because I think that one thing you have identified with me is that when things are visual, that helps you a lot. So we had spoken about writing down positive thoughts. So for example, recognizing when you make a good play, seeing your good marks as opposed to when you maybe missed a layup or when you maybe didn't get as good of a mark on a math test or something. How has that been going for you?
Well, it's good because I remembered when we talked about the play that I messed up in the game before, I did do something in this tournament, but I just kind of, like, I was super frustrated at myself. I missed a block or something. And I did get really upset at myself and kind of, but then I just kept on reminding myself it's okay, and just, I kind of compared it to math, that it's okay to mess up and you're not going to get it right all the time, even with the tutoring and that sort of thing. But I'm okay with it in math, I guess. But yeah, it was really hard in basketball. But I just kept on telling myself, because you told me that it's okay to make those mistakes in basketball. And kind of moved on, and then in the next game we won, so it was it was good.
It was all good. And that's a really neat connection that you made around how, with math, mistakes happen and you're able to get through it and move on to the next assignment or the next test. And I find it really fascinating that you made that connection to basketball. And I wonder if why it may be harder for you in basketball is because maybe you care a little bit more about basketball than math,
Probably.
right? Which is understandable. But it's a really neat connection that you've made, and that might help you in the future with being able to move past potentially negative things and being able to not focus in so much on it and maybe recognize more the positive things that are going on. Yeah, well, that's really good. Good for you.
Thank you.
Awesome job. Let's see here. I can't remember if there was anything else that we spoke about last time. So it sounds like you had mentioned that things are going really good at home too. And one thing I know we had mentioned in the past that would often be sometimes the root of a fight or an argument at home was kind of doing your chores and following expectations and things like that. How's that been going for you?
Well, I'm still not good at remembering to do it. But what I'm good at now is just kind of not getting mad when I'm reminded about it. Because after doing it a few times, just walking away and getting my own space, I realized how much easier it is. So I still need reminding, but I haven't gotten in any fights over it, so that's better.
That's good.
So now I just need to remember to do it in the first place. But
well, you know what? No one likes to do chores.
Yeah.
So it's not always at the forefront of our mind of having to do dishes or whatever that may be, right? So I think that's pretty normal. And do you find that with walking away and taking space, that's kind of helped you with those in the moment frustrations, or have you even really been feeling those frustrations lately?
I still feel it, but it doesn't last as long, and I think it's just because I'm remembering how much easier it is just to do that, and so it doesn't last as long. So I still get frustrated at it, but
and I think that's normal, right? Like I think every human gets frustrated or gets upset with something, right? It all comes down to how we cope with it and how we move on. And it sounds like you're finding ways throughout our conversations that have really helped you not decrease those emotions, but because they're a reality, right? They're always going to be there, but that you come up with strategies to cope with them in a way that works for you.
Yeah.
Because I find that coping with different emotions and strategies can look different for everybody, right? But it sounds like you kind of practice some things, you see how they work and that they make you feel good, and you see that kind of ball effect of once things start going well in one area, then they start getting better in other areas, and then kind of as a whole you're feeling a little bit better. So that's really great.
I even taught my younger foster brother to do it with his cousin, and they were together. They got in an argument, so I told them what they needed to say. So and I'm teaching people.
And how did that make you feel when you were able to kind of guide someone else into
It was good.
How to cope with things?
Yeah, it was good.
Good. Did it make you feel proud? Did it make you feel like
yeah.
Good.
I don't know if they did it afterwards, but it was just neat to know that I could help them figure something out. So
good for you. That's awesome. So Christine, as we're kind of wrapping up here with our sessions, I have to admit I've seen lots of really great growth from you, and we kind of started off with you weren't really too sure why you were here, but through conversations we kind of identify some things that you wanted to work on, and it sounds like you've been working on them, and now they seem to be going a little bit better. Is there anything else that you wanted to chat about while you're here? Is there any other services that you'd like me to connect you to, or is there anything else that I can do for you before our session comes to an end?
Well, I think that now that I've kind of gotten everything that was causing me trouble right now out of the way, it's good. I guess just maybe if in the future, I ever have to go back to my mom or move houses, or would my foster parents, or would they be able to contact you again?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so they can contact me, your caseworker, or yourself, right? Like your file can be kind of kept open. I'll be completing a report to kind of go through what we've discussed and the goals that we've worked on. So in case maybe you come back in a year or so and I've completely forgotten, because I have lots of different clients that I speak with, I can always refer back to that, and that will stay with this office. So if by any reason I'm not here when you do come back, it can simply be transferred over to another counselor who can review our notes, and she'll kind of know a bit of background and what you've been working on and what works for you. Great question.
Yeah, because I know right now things are really good, but again, I guess I just worry what's going to happen or when's it going to change.
And I think in that you're kind of looking at it in a way of assuming that something could go wrong, but I'm kind of looking at it as a way as you're establishing a coping skill, right? You're kind of preparing yourself, not preparing yourself for the worst, but knowing what your options are. So if things don't go as well as you'd like them to, or if something happens or something comes up, which in life it does, you now have something in place to help you get through that,
right?
Which is really great. So good for you.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So before we wrap up, I would just like you to fill out one more form, okay? Because I like paper and scales and things like that. It helps me really kind of, I'm like yourself, I like to visualize things and see how things are going on paper, so that's why these things help. So this is just the session rating scale.
Okay.
So this is for you, as you've done in the last sessions, to just kind of rate how things went in our session. Great. All right. So again, this is another scale that I can kind of see where clients go throughout our session. So again, if this were to go from 0 all the way to 0, or a decline or things like that, then I would still need for us to continue. But this looks like a complete, the highest scores possible. So I see this as going up as well. So that tells me that you found these sessions meaningful, and that we're able to focus on the goals that you were wanting to focus on, and you feel that you've benefited from these sessions. So I'm really glad to see that. So thank you very much, Christine, for everything, and I wish you the best of luck. And yes, if you ever want to return to counseling, you can just, like I said, yourself or your foster parents or whoever can give us a call, and you can come in for more sessions if you'd like. Okay, great. Thank you.